Hi everybody, it's Nancy and I'm so excited because I got some more colors of the Distress Oxide inks. And you know what, guys? I have given up my pigment inks. I've put them all in a box. I'm going to sell them or give them to my kids. But I have not used my pigment inks in I don't know how long, because they're just so messy and they take forever to dry. And now that I have the Distress Oxides, I made my little chart, and you can print this out off of Ranger's website. And I just took a little stamp and stamped out the colors of what I have. Now, some of these colors I know I'm not going to use because I have the original Distress inks, and there's just some colors that you are attracted to that you know you're going to use, and there are some colors that you know you're not going to use. So I did not feel the need to buy all of them because I know there are colors that I'm not going to use, but to each his own. But I love these inks, guys. They are so creamy like pigment inks, but they have that fun distress technique where you can wet them and they activate with water and you can blend with them, but they are like a dye ink because they dry fairly quickly. I mean, not super quick like dye inks do, but definitely fun. And that's it. I'm getting rid of all my pigment inks and I'm just going to use the Distress Oxides. So I played around today with the Concord and 9th turnabout stamp, which now I can't find it. But it made this little guy here. And I got to tell you, it takes some practice. And I'm sure I didn't do the diagram right, but you basically put it in your stamp positioner and then you turn your paper each time you want to stamp it. And so for my first try, not too bad. It's going to take some practice, but that came out pretty neat. And I used the picked raspberry, cracked pistachio, salty ocean, and wilted violet to make this little guy. So I know it's not perfect in some of the places, but I'll just cover that up. And then the second thing I got, and by the way, I got all of this from Tupelo Designs. I believe their website is Tupelo Designs LLC. They had the Distress inks for a little bit less than everywhere else I've seen them, and they have free shipping in the United States. So I love Tupelo Designs because of their free shipping and because they have new products. So the next thing I'm playing with to make this fun design, and I'm going to go through this with you guys together, is the Altenew Layered Kaleidoscope Stencil. And I hope I have this right. So there's Stencil A and Stencil B, and you can use them individually, and it shows you here on the back what it looks like if you do it individually. So yeah, A is the one with the star, B is the one with like the octagon shape, and then using them together creates that. So I'm going to show you guys what that looks like with the Distress inks. And another cheat that I have, guys, is you can buy this little pack of little sticky back circle Velcros and then put those on the back of your ink pad and then keep your foam with that coordinated color. That way you don't contaminate it with other ink or other colors. So there's a cheat for you guys. But let's make another one like this. And let's use different colors. Let's try it in, well, since we use those two, let's try these two. Let's see how that looks. Pull these off. Oh, my kids are about to run downstairs. They just got done with their bath. I can hear them coming down the steps. I'll try to do this quickly. We always say quickly when we're crafting, but the truth is there's no quickly. And there's no such thing as non-messy. We're always making a mess. I mean, look at my fingers, right? But it's fun. Okay. So I just have some scrap cardstock here. And I believe this is Stencil A. So we're just going to stick that down. I'm using my non-stick craft mat. You want to put a little... Try to center this up. And this is just Post-it tape to keep that down. And I think we'll start with the cracked pistachio. These inks are super creamy, guys. I mean, they are very creamy like pigment inks. And just with a light hand, with your distressing tool, just go over the stencil. These stencils are very intricate and delicate. Ooh, I probably should have cleaned it, but that's okay. This is like a nice minty green color. Excuse me. Alright, so that is Altenew Layered Kaleidoscope A. Pretty cool. Move that aside. And then B, we're going to line up here. And I'm looking at the center, and then I'm looking at the points to make sure they're centered. And you can do these individually, you can do them together, you can do them in different colors, you can do them in the same colors. It's pretty neat. I kind of want to see what this is going to look like if I use embossing paste or the Nouveau glitter paste on here. I think that's going to be really neat to see that. You'd have to do one at a time because you wouldn't be able to layer that. You'd get glitter all over everything. So you wouldn't be able to do this with pigment inks because they would, as soon as you start layering them, the pigment inks would just get all over the place, like they would move around. And so I guess you could do it with pigment inks once you let it dry or took a heat tool to it. And dye inks are great. I love my dye inks. They soak into the paper very quickly, but it's a little hard to layer dye inks because the color underneath kind of gets covered up. I'm doing this fairly quickly, guys, before little feet come running down here. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna cut it to fit a card front anyway. Alright, so that's Wilted Violet and Cracked Pistachio. Ooh, that's kind of cool. It's like Halloween-y. Check it out. So if you have not tried the Distress Oxide inks yet, guys, you gotta get them. I am totally enabling you here and giving you permission to try something new. If you are new to stamping, you can use these inks for almost everything because, like I said, they stamp out beautifully. Whether you're doing fine designs. Let me get something here. Okay, here's a word stamp. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. Normally when you use a pigment ink is like a paint. It sits on top of the paper and it takes a while to absorb into the paper. It's great if you're going to do heat embossing, but you can do that with these inks as well. But you can see how solid and how full the coverage is on this. And I can see it's still wet, but it's drying very quickly. Dye inks go into the paper and they dye the paper. So these are the best of both worlds. You get a bright, colorful pigment ink and you get a dye ink that goes into the paper. And I'll show you the effect that they have in a second too, but you can see how solid that's stamped, how fine it's stamped. So you can use it for fine stamping, detailed stamping, or full coverage stamping. And this is almost dry. It'll be dry in just a second. I can see it. Where with a pigment ink, if you would, I'm trying to find a clean finger here. If you would do that with a pigment ink, it would immediately smear all over the place. With a dye ink, it wouldn't, but you can see, now this is almost dry. It didn't take very long. It's not going to smear. But the cool thing, why people are really flocking to these inks, and those of you guys who are familiar with Distress inks, if you are Tim Holtz fans, he actually does a technique where he stamps it and then he wets it and then he rubs it across, so it gives us this really cool distressed look. But why we love Distress inks are for the techniques. So you have blending, so smooth, full coverage. But what everybody loves about them is this right here. Is you take a little squirt bottle with water, squirt some water on there, take a paper towel or a microfiber cloth, and I just let that sit on there a second. Check it out. Look at that. This is what Distress inks are known for. They're known for their ability to blend and shade smoothly. They go together, but this water effect is what everybody loves about Distress inks. So if you've not tried Distress Oxide inks, get yourself a few. Like I said, start with the colors you know that you're going to use. And it's Tupelo Designs. And I am not paid by Tupelo Designs. I just love their fast, free shipping LLC. I believe that's their website. Tupelo Designs LLC. They have free shipping in the US. They have these colors and some more. And you can also get the reinkers. I haven't gotten the reinkers yet, but I will be getting them. And you can use these for so many different techniques as well as regular stamping, backgrounds and things like that. And they're fabulous. Tim Holtz has done a wonderful job with these inks. And I can't say enough good things about them. So there's my video. But thanks for watching. And have a good weekend, guys. Keep on stamping.